Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena, and in today's video we're going to be sewing up a playsuit using Gertie's L'Amour pattern. A playsuit can be either a two-piece or a three-piece, a two-piece being a romper and an overskirt and or some sort of a beach coat, or it could be a three-piece consisting of a top, shorts, and then some sort of overskirt or overcoat. Today I'm going to be making a romper and a matching skirt to go over the top. I'm using the Gertie's L'Amour bodice, but I'm going to swap it out for a more true vintage bottom, which I'll share further on into the video. So if you're interested in seeing me make this playsuit, go ahead and like and subscribe, and now let's get into it. For today's material, I'll be using 100% cotton. The first material is going to be the printed main fabric, and the second is going to be a solid black cotton, then a marking tool that will show up on the black cotton to make the embroidery design, an embroidery hoop, as well as some floss and a embroidery needle. Not pictured, but totally necessary. You're going to need some sort of stabilizer, or the interfacing that you're going to use for the waistband can do as well, because that's what I did. I mentioned earlier that we'll be using the L'Amour bodice for the top of the romper and or dress, but we're also going to be using a reproduction copy of a true vintage bottom to make the shorts of the romper. Now for a quick demo on how I did the embroidery. So you're going to want to take your stabilizer or interfacing, iron that on if it's iron on, and then use your ruler or whatever you're planning on doing to trace the design. I'm doing a straight line and this little teardrop oval shape to give you an idea. Then add the hoop. I am going to be doing a keffiyeh design on this, so that's why I'm showing you a straight line and this little circle, because I'll be doing this a lot. Once you tighten your hoop, you're going to grab your floss. This is all of the strands, but I'm going to separate two strands. They're going to be much longer when I'm actually embroidering, but for the example, I do two short strands. So pull two short strands and then put them into your embroidery needle. Double them up and then tie a knot, so then it'll be like 4 strands thick. Start from underneath the hoop, bring your needle forward, and then follow the line. Then on the second stitch or third stitch, you're going to want to go in between two of the stitches, so there should be 2 stitches on each side of the needle, and then pull it through, go forward, and then on the back you're going to go again through 2 of those threads and keep following the line until you get to the circle. The center of the keffiyeh is supposed to be representative of a net, so I figured a chain stitch would look like the individual ropes of a net. I thought it would be cute, and I think in the end it really worked out. I am not an expert at embroidery. I am constantly learning, and I could definitely use the practice. So this isn't going to be the most professional looking thing ever, but I do like the organic feel of a hand embroidered project. So that's why I went this route. And so now I'm just going to trace the circle with I don't even know how to explain this type of stitch. It's almost like a whip stitch, and you can use chain stitch for this, but I felt like it didn't need to be as neat because I'm going to do a satin stitch over it. So this is just going to be like a border to hold the satin stitch neatly. So yeah, we're going to cover that up, and the satin stitch is just going from left to right with the needle, and you're just going to kind of cover or follow the line of the outside stitches that anchor it, and just keep going around and around, wrapping that whole circle in a satin-like stitch. I felt like this design detail was perfect for the halter straps, since the keffiyeh is commonly worn around the neck as well as over the head. It took me about 3 days and very hurt fingers to get the design done, but I was really happy with the results. To get the embroidery just right, I traced out the pattern piece onto the fabric before cutting it. Then I also drew my grid for the net. And then when I was done embroidering, I cut it all out. So that's how I made sure everything was exactly the way that I wanted it. Then I take the main fabric, put it right sides together, and then I sew that up. I think if I had to do this again in the future, I would probably use a tearaway stabilizer, which I did have but forgot about. I would have used that instead of the interfacing that just stays there, because while it does look really nice, and I think it does display the design really nicely, it is kind of stiff. Turn the halter right side out, press it very nicely, and then add some gathering stitches to the bottom so that way you can gather it onto the bodice. This garment took me a week longer to make than I initially intended just because of the embroidery. Somehow in my delusional brain, I thought I was going to be able to do both of these within a couple hours, and it ended up taking me several hours just to embroider in sections. This version of Lemoire Bodice uses a different side front panel to incorporate the halter. So the side front is made up in two pieces. So you do sew the halter down first, and then you put the second piece on top and sandwich it in between. This is the only difference between the Lemoire that I've sewn up in previous videos. And I decided to share this version because every time I wear the other very tropical version of this outfit, I get questions on whether or not I have a full-length video. So I decided to share one this year because I reach for that tropical version a lot, and I would like to have another option in a different print. I know I focus a lot mainly on true vintage patterns on my channel, but over the summer I become a Gertie stan because they come together really quickly, especially for me. And because I do intend on spending a lot of time outside and with my family, my projects need to be a lot shorter so that way I'm spending less time inside and more time outside enjoying my family, the weather, and my outfits. Because I do sew a lot of her bodices over the summer, I do try to make them a little bit more different and special. One, so that way they're interesting for me to make over and over and over again, but also so they're interesting for you guys to watch, like how I did the Lana bodice with the bullet shaped bust in my strawberry dress video, which I'll link above. In this case, I am using a true vintage bubble romper bottom, so that's why I swapped it out for a more true vintage bottom, which I've done in the past in the tropical set. So this is just extra wide at the bottom, it's gathered at the top so it has that bubbled look, and then you add a casing around the legs for elastic to really poof it up at the bottom. I know a lot of people don't like the shape. They feel like it's kind of like a diaper look, but I like the added shape because with the bottom being so poofy, it allows your waistline to look snatched, kind of like when you wear a full skirt. Because the waistline is gathered onto the bodice, I didn't have to make any adjustments to the shorts in order to fit the bodice because all I had to do was like tighten up the gathers or loosen the gathers so that way it would fit nicely, which is what I'm doing here. I'm just gathering it onto the bodice now. I use French seams throughout the construction of the shorts, and then I use regular seams for the bodice because it is fully lined and boned. Be very careful as you attach the lining to the bodice to make sure you don't sew on top of the halter ties because that could be really easy to do. If you're enjoying the overviews that I've been able to provide in this video, I'd like to give a special thanks to Eric for sending me out a new tripod, as well as Dina for sending me notions. I truly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. At the beginning of the year, the audio was upgraded by some subscribers and I was able to thank them personally. So I just want to add another thank you. It means the world to me that you guys are equally as invested in this channel as I am, and I am so humbled and appreciative. After understitching, then I attach the zipper and then move on to working on the skirt. I had 3 yards left over, so all I did was even out the cuts on the longest ends, turn it horizontally and gather it down, and made sure that I cut it to the length that I wanted with a 2-inch hem. Link my overskirt video to get a better idea of how I use ruffler foot and how I just make a really quick gathered skirt. I did make button plackets on this by folding over the raw edges on the right and the left side of the skirt. I did 2 inches and I put some interfacing in the placket so that way I could add buttonholes later. I didn't decide on what buttons to use, and I'm not even sure I have any buttons to use, so I didn't add any buttons on the skirt right now. I just used a hook and bar at the waistline so that way it has a big slit, and eventually down the line I'll find the perfect buttons to go with this dress and I can add it on later. When I wear the set together, I want it to resemble as close to a full skirted dress as possible. So for the waistband, I go with a very thin waistband, which I don't usually do, and I go with a 1-inch waistband. This way it's less of a break between the bodice and the skirt, so it looks like a full dress, especially if I put a belt over the top. You won't really see a gap between the two. Once the skirt is gathered onto the waistband, I fold it over and then I top stitch the waistband down. Working with the gathers facing up, it allows me to adjust the gathers as I go so I don't end up with pleats in my skirt. I've been really busy this week. It's like all of the ideas hit me at once and I'm really trying to get them out of my head. I made my son a matching cabana set to go with the tropical outfit, and then Gertie released a new beach pajama that I wanted to work on. So instead of sending it to be printed professionally, I decided to piece together her giant PDF to make it alongside this project. So this is the final look. I really hope you guys enjoyed it because I certainly did. If you have not already, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Leave me a little comment below. Let me know what you think of the outfit. If you would like to support my channel any further, you can become a bobbin over on Patreon or leave me a virtual tip over on Ko-fi. The links for all of these things will be in the description box below. Of course, the best free way to support me is to like, subscribe, share this video with someone you think might be interested, and leave me a comment. Thank you so much for all of your ongoing support. Special thanks to my bobbins and my supporters I mentioned earlier. I truly appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you all in the next video. I hope you all have a safe and wonderful rest of your day.